This is not going to be the usual content that I do. It's not my usual content for my audience, but I'm multifaceted. So I want to talk about a number of things and not just clear Bible connections to things, but this is going to be unguarded as well. I don't have, you know, a real anything really prepared. I mean, a lot of my videos are somewhat just coming from, the heart of freestyling or whatever. So this is going to be somewhat of an unguarded video. Like I don't have anything really prepared. Just wanted to share some thoughts as I'm looking at and hearing about the news that a Philadelphia rapper, 30-year-old man, black man named PnB Rock was fatally shot at a robbery in South LA. He was eating at a Roscoe's, I think chicken and waffles yesterday. And apparently his girlfriend, I guess his baby mother, she kind of said on Instagram, we're at this location. And within 15 or 20 minutes, some dude showed up. At least one guy in particular showed up with a gun. This guy has jewelry on and all this stuff. Apparently, he's eating in a place that is really like gangster. Like some people have said, it's a really ghetto neighborhood. Why would you be a famous rapper going to this location? But lo and behold, these guys show up, brandish a firearm, and he apparently refuses to take off his jewelry, and then he gets murdered. He gets shot multiple times. The people take the jewelry off and then leave in a getaway car. Many people are offended, at least right now, at his girlfriend for posting the location of where they are, knowing that he's famous and these types of things happen. So that's the kind of the news. I just want to share a couple of thoughts from me. I'm sort of a low key OG of the streets and in the black community and the rap community. I'm old enough to remember when Tupac got murdered. I remember that in 1996. In fact, I remembered him dying on Friday the 13th. I remember the news came out that Tupac had died from some gunshot wounds that he took to the chest in Las Vegas. And at the time, Tupac would have been one of the biggest. I mean, there would have been, Tupac, Biggie, Nas. It was a big deal that he died. And then 6 months later, East Coast's like biggest artist, Notorious B.I.G., Biggie, he was killed in L.A. And some people have said it was retaliation. And there's documentaries and different things on that. I'm old enough to remember what that was like and to see these artists who people look up to. Like, let's just be honest. We live in a culture where when you're famous, just because you have a talent, like, or you're pretty, it doesn't really matter if you have anything to offer as long as you can entertain or you're pleasing enough physically for people to lust after you. You're placed in a pedestal in our society. People want to be you. They want all these different types of things. And so that's just the culture we live in. And it's not even reduced, it's not necessarily even an American thing. I mean, you can go back and look through history and just see that people who are more attractive or who have money or some type of talent are usually, important people in a society, even if they don't even know what's going on. Like you give famous actors and people more credibility sometimes than people who actually know what they're talking about. So this is the kind of culture we live in, and so I've seen this. I've seen this happen a lot. After Biggie and Pac got murdered, there was a period of time where it was like, "Hey, man, we don't want this to happen again." Like, these are artists that mean a lot to the black community and the rap community and all this stuff, right? So then you get later on, Jam Master Jay gets murdered, famed DJ from Run DMC. And then over time you hear about people getting killed in different things, and then Pop Smoke, New York rapper from Brooklyn, I think, for a couple of years ago, got murdered in L.A. And then you know, Nipsey Hussle, that was a big deal in the community. He got shot in L.A. in his neighborhood um, in like a market that he had a store in, right? So all of this is going on, right? And then you got this guy PnB, and he gets murdered. And so it's not new that people get murdered and all of that. So the stuff I'm talking about is not really novel, but I just want to give a couple of thoughts from two different kind of hats that I'm wearing. I'm wearing one hat where I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I have a biblical worldview. So I see these things from sort of what I think the Bible says about the issues in the world. I do not see things as necessarily one community sins versus another. I just think these things are just a part of the life. So I do have that, but I also have the other lens. I'm gonna say some things through are from as an ex-street dude, a dude who lived by this kind of code, who sold drugs, who shot at people, who was shot back, who's been locked up, who rapped about, who lived around a lot of street dudes. You know, I remember being in our neighborhood, getting high, and then we'd hear gunshots and find out a dude that just was with us that walked across the street to go get something to eat got murdered, you know, stuff like that. So I've come from that background, and by God's grace have moved from that. And then also as a rapper, even though sometimes many of you who watch me don't really watch me because of my music, you watch me because of, you know, maybe Ruslan might have put you hip, and then you liking the content, stuff I talk about more from the Bible and things, but I want to speak from wearing a couple different lenses here. So I'm gonna start from as a black dude, ex-street dude who used to live this life and love this life and the music that sort of encompasses this life. I want to speak from that angle first, and I'm gonna go to as a believer. I'm not a. I'll just say this up front too. This isn't like a. I'm not a PnB Rock fan. I'm not. I don't have nothing against him. I just haven't really got into his music. So this has nothing to do with, man, you killed someone I respected or cared about. It's not even on that level. But I do want to say something first to the rap community, like the hip hop community. I've watched a lot of tweets from like popular rap artists and things. Man, we lost another one, and this happened, and this happened. You know, I want to that community. I want to say this, and I'm nobody to you. I don't even know if you'll watch this video, if this will get to you, but I want to say this to you, particularly the rap artists. I think is a question: what is it about the violence that we rap about? And I'm saying we because I used to rap about it. I don't rap about that anymore, but what is it about that even when you're older, like some of you artists right now are in your 40s, early 50s, putting out new music and still rapping like you'll kill a dude and you down for like that type of violence? Like, fam, like what are you doing? Like, what in the world are you doing rapping about that for? I'm not even going to name names because I'm not even, this isn't about even trying to name names and hope that they hear this and go viral and shame people. If the shoe fits, wear it. But my question is like, you know, when a white police officer shoots a black dude, right? We all Black Lives Matter and everybody's upset and you frustrated about all that. But then when black people shoot another black dude in the street and they riding around to the music that you make, like at what point do you say, hey, man, I gotta make different music and show through the same music that I promote these things? And like, listen, I'm from that. So don't tell me like we not glorifying it. We just talking about it. Yes, you glorifying it. Of course you glorifying it. Stop playing, man. And we sharp, man. We ain't dumb. Like you glorifying it. You feel like it's sad that within in segments of the black community that it's really about rap, you have to talk about violence to even sell records. Like you, so again, for me, like at what point, especially you older rappers from my generation, the 90s and the 2000s, like why are you still even rapping about the streets? Like why are you still even rapping about violence that you'll do to somebody if they step to you when you got children in college, you got grandchildren, you got gray hairs on your face like I do? Like what in the world are you talking about that for, fam? Like I'm not gonna put this at your feet and say it's your fault, but you participate in this still. I can understand when we was in our 20s. When I was in my 20s, I was wilding. You know, I thought I'm gonna live forever. I got guns, I'm getting high, I'm selling crack, I got money, I got girl, I got all these things that I think represent what it means to be real in my community. And I just think like we gotta be honest about that. And this is me, fam. You can't tell me I ain't no Uncle Tom or none of that, bro. I'm from all of that. And I've seen like the error in that, man, the evil in that. And you got dudes that are still rapping, still holding on, still talking about this stuff. But then when somebody actually gets killed, then it's like, man, another one. Rest in peace, bro, man. This is shit. This is a sad. This is. But then you get offended when the white people or the conservatives or black people who push back on this lifestyle, you get offended at them for saying it, but then you celebrate and you trying to make money from promoting all of it. And it's like, man, I just don't get it, fam. I don't get it. And I think to be honest with you, you shouldn't be saying, man, another one, man, I can't believe this. You should start making music that goes after this. I remember, I'm old enough to remember the late 80s, man. There was a movement in rap that it was beautiful, right? There was a movement in rap that had groups like Public Enemy and X-Clan and KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions. They was all about this stuff. It was a stop the violence movement. And I remember there was a huge song that the New York artists, the East Coast, called Self-Destruction. Go Google that, self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. Well, today's topic, self-destruction. It really ain't the rap audience that's bugging. It's one or two suckers, ignorant brothers, trying to rob and steal from one another, right? So there was this movement where this whole song had Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One, MC Light, Stetsasonic. All these rappers were like, bro, we got to stop killing each other, right? There was a movement. And then on the West Coast, they did the same thing. They had a song called We're All in the Same Gang. It had like Def Jeff, it had MC Hammer, all these, don't you know we got to put our heads together, right? There was a sense where like, hey, we got to stop this. But then it became not cool. Like, we got to get rid of that. That was a period where like, hey, trying to get young black people to stop thinking that murder and all that is cool. And then it just shifted back to like keeping it real. That was a part of the rap community back then. Where's that at? Where's that at? We'll call stuff like that like backpacking rap, like rap now. Like, where is that at? Like, you stop tweeting like, oh man, another one and this and that, when you still got some influence. Man, dude, bring back the Stop the Violence movement. Man, dude, look, it's so crazy right now in LA. Listen to what the police, the chief of police, listen to this. I'm gonna read this as a verbatim. This is what the chief of police in LA has said. Listen to this. This is insane. This is the chief of police in LA saying this. My message to anyone thinking about coming to Los Angeles, especially during the holiday season, is don't. This is James McBride, the head of the LA Police Protective League, right? He said, we can't guarantee your safety. It is really, really out of control. I said it to people before, it's like the movie Purge, Instead of 24 hours to commit your crime, these people have 365 days to commit whatever they want. You have the LA, a big dog, right? The head of the LA Protective League telling you, do not come to LA because it's that dangerous. Now, you can say whatever you want about conservatives, about all of that, but you don't see them going into these, they don't got a whole bunch of killing going on where they live at. These rappers, man, you guys are really clowns in many ways, fam. Like, you still want to benefit from this credibility. And the question is, like, why is that credible? Why is that still important? Like, why is that credible? All of these, we pass down to the generations behind us, all of it. My kids don't know nothing about their dad being a gangster, used to be, except what I tell them. And I don't even talk about it a lot. But the neighborhood that I used to get my crack from, did all that stuff from, I used to drive by that joint every day with my kids. And I would look at them in the mirror while they just looking around, chilling or playing with each other. And I would just thank the Lord that, like, wow, there was a point where I was standing right there and could have died. And now I'm driving past this neighborhood with three sons in the car, and they don't know nothing about that. And what's funny is a lot of the rappers now that don't want to that raise kids, they don't got their kids like that. They got their kids in college, but they'll get on the mic and still talk about it. If you walk up, like, fam, this the real pandemic. There's a segment of the black community that praises violence, that needs violence for a level of credibility, and will use that to make money and all of it. But then when someone gets killed by the very violence that you rap about, that you say you're not glorifying what you are, then you be like, oh man, rest in peace, man. Another one, man. We got to stop this. No, you stop it. You stop it, fam. You stop it. You start, do some other music, man. Tell these youngers what's up. You know, one of the things everybody talks about Obama, right? You know, one thing that I was really thought Obama didn't do that he should have done? Obama came out of Chicago, right? You were the president of the United States. This dude could have said, you know what? I want to host the meeting in the United Center. I want all these neighborhoods to come together. You could have said, let me talk to y'all. That would have made a huge difference. That could have made a huge difference. If he did that, I ain't hear nothing about it. Like we don't, we talk about the youngins and all that, but we don't take no responsibility for the community. You can't blame that on white people. You can't just blame that all on social injustice. You can't just blame that on that. I ain't saying there's not historical reverberating consequences for some of the racism and things, but you cannot blame these people on that. You cannot blame the conservatives for all of that, fam. This is you. You make the music that people love. I remember hearing a story about what's that dude's name? Juice WRLD meeting Future and telling him, man, your music got me on drugs. And Juice WRLD OD'd on drugs. People still miss that dude and still want his music. And he told Future, your music got me here. Man, Future should have did a whole album called I'm Sorry, Fam. But you don't hear that, man. You benefit from, you rap about, and you glorify the music, and then you tweet when somebody actually applies your lyrics. Young Thug and Gunner and them are just gotten arrested a couple months ago under RICO charges, and they using rap lyrics against them. And people are saying, no, they shouldn't do that. Yes, they should. Yes, they should. Because you dry snitching. If you're going to rap about you really killing a dude, then you suffer the consequences for that. It is a scripture that says, when a man's sins catch up to him, when the consequences of his sins catch up, I'm paraphrasing. When the consequences of his sins catch up to him, his heart rages against the Lord. Now it's God's fault. Now it's the white man's fault. Now it's this people's fault. Man, y'all are tripping, bro. And a lot of the rap artists, man, I'm being honest, man, you need to take more responsibility. What I appreciated the artist that was like, nah, man, we got to change we got to do something. We can't keep talking about what the government's not doing, what conservatives are against. Man, who cares about them folks, man? Them peoples ain't never been. Look, man, in the Uncle Tom documentary, there's two documentaries called Uncle Tom. And the first one that came out in 2020, all those black conservatives, Alan West and Carol Swain and even Larry Elder, all those people, those black conservatives that are saying, oh, we Uncle Toms to the black community, all those people said in that video, go to the 128-minute mark, that the Republicans don't care about black people. They don't want the black vote. So stop blaming the people that you already know don't care about you and take some responsibility for what you do to the black community. You don't take no responsibility. You still want to rap, get high, have sex with these people's daughters. You want to do all this stuff. I mean, Diddy is like 50-something years old and you sleeping with girls that are your son's age. Man, at your age and not your shoe size, a lot of us in this rap community, the black, man, you soft. You the epitome of soft. Because you do everything that you complain about when somebody else does it. And it's wrong, fam, you wrong. You should be, don't just tweet, oh, PnB Rock, man, with murder and it's senseless, man, we got to stop this. Nah, you have a platform. You have something. Did he do something then? You do all that talking like, oh, we ain't going to support Triller until they pay Timberland and Swiss Beats their money. Man, forget about them getting money. Where's the black people at? Where do you really care about the black community? The Democrats don't care about the black community. The black Republicans said the Republicans don't care about it. So where are you at? All you rappers, there are rappers that have dropped albums in the last couple of this year, old in their 40s, rapping about violence and stuff. You dumb, fam. You dumb. And then you get upset when these people apply it. Come on, bro. I'm from that. I was facing 43 years in prison, keeping it real. It wasn't nothing real about that, but real pain and real suffering. And I'm grateful that the Lord brought me out of that. I would have never known my life right now if I had done all that time. Representing something that I thought was real. That wasn't nothing real about that. And let me be honest, it ain't got nothing to do with being black. It don't got nothing to do with being black. But for some reason, violence and murder is credible to black people. It's like, man, if you ain't with that, then you ain't, man, whatever. Foolish. And so now, and this ain't gonna stop. I was hoping that after Nipsey got murdered, that people would be like, man, we gotta really, man, nah. Y'all ain't tripping because you still making music. Game just dropped an album that flopped 30 songs and all of it is still like you in your 40s, fam. There's nobody in their 40s that should be rapping about killing anybody. You should be rapping about taking stuff for pain in your limbs. We getting older. Things are different now. For whatever you say about Jay-Z, about, oh, that was blasphemy on his goddamn verse, I'll give Jay-Z some credit. He talks about things in a more past tense. Dudes be rapping like, why would he shoot? Oh, man. Oh, man. No pun intended, but DJ Khaled, another one. Exactly right. Another one. Another dude that got murdered. Because, and we promote the music for that. You promote that. So I think the rap community, those who rap about violence, particularly those artists who are 30 plus, is you're part responsible because you create the atmosphere. You don't glorify. You talk about what's going on, but when dudes ride around listening to what music, they listen to the music that you rap about. They want to be like you, but now they tired of just being like you. They robbing you. Now they looking for you in these neighborhoods so that they can rob you. Shoot, they might even rob you while listening to your music, which leads me now to a different lens. I need to take off the rapper ex-gangster hat. And now as a believer, I think this is not necessarily about the black community. The scriptures are very clear. We do not wrestle with flesh and blood. But against the principalities, rulers of this age and so forth. And this is Paul highlighting a lot of demonic, supernatural, cosmic powers of darkness. There are beings that God created that rebelled against him, that have authority on this earth until he says it's finished. Not that it's finished in terms of what Jesus did, but until he comes back and it's all gone. And so this is what's happening. And for whatever reason, the spirit of the age on the black community, some of it does stem from, some of the problems in the black community. It's not that it's systemic racism as much, because it's not like there's been a lot of progress in the black community. You know what it actually is? And black people don't always articulate it well. We call it systemic racism. But you know what it is? It's systemic mistrust because of that historical racism. You don't trust these folks. You just don't trust them. And when you don't trust people, man, it's hard to be around them. It's hard to live. It's hard to take anything they say. So even though there's these opportunities that they give you, you don't trust them. You don't trust them. And so within the black community, a lot of it is like, that's why people can't point to all these laws that exist, but you can point to some of the attitudes and some of the things that but you don't trust them. You haven't had any real legitimate reason to trust a lot of these situations. And that's what a lot of people are tired of. That was the real thing about George Floyd. George Floyd wasn't about celebrating George Floyd. George Floyd represented being tired of this happening to people, right? And black people in particular, by law enforcement. Like, you don't trust them. George Floyd and the whole thing, the reason why people were not, look, if you really look at all the videos, right? In the Uncle Tom 2 documentary, one of the things I thought was fascinating is they spend a lot of time on Marxism and socialism. But when they show like what socialism is and what it's done, all their footage is in black and white and showing like Stalin and Castro and all that. You know why? Because Black Lives Matter, even though the ladies were Marxists, people weren't walking around holding Karl Marx signs and socialism signs. They were holding pictures of George Floyd, not because they thought he was a saint, but because he represented tired of not being able to trust these people and these stories. And in this situation, someone just happened to have a camera to show, man, that was unnecessary to kill that man like that. That's what it was about. It's not even systemic racism, it's systemic mistrust. And you know what the church has done as a result of that? The church has dug down either in defense of certain communities, like the black communities and the racism narrative, or the other side, you've rebelled against it. So anytime you bring up, so it's either you, and then I'm talking about these are believers now. Believers have just doubled down and been like, you know what? Yeah, systemic racism and this, that, the third, and it's this, that, and the third. And you're taking these individual experiences and all of these things that can happen and making it seem like as if that's the only narrative that's true. And then you got the other side. You got these people who just don't even want to, nope, that's just an excuse. It's just a victim, all this other stuff. And it's like two things can be true at the same time. And in the church, people are more offended and fighting over trying to protect a way of life in America rather than proclaiming the way to life. So I lay this at the church's feet as well. Like we're so, right now, the American church is so divided and so sinful. And it's like, it's so, let me tell you, this is how bad it is in the church right now, and in large swaths of the church, not every Christian, obviously. It's so bad right now that like, if you try to correct someone for being unloving, they will assume that you're saying that because you disagree with them politically. It's American Christianity is so tied to politics and protecting a way of life. So if you're on the right, you're standing up in Jesus' name against the left and socialism. And if you're on the left, you're standing up in Jesus' name against a lack of love for the poor and injustice towards the marginalized. And both of those seem like they're good causes, but in reality, anything that causes such significant division amongst God's people, I cannot find a scripture that says it glorifies him. You got one verse in 1 Corinthians where Paul says, it is good that there were divisions among you, but then he says, why? So that those who are true would be called out. So the divisions are supposed to represent who's truly a Christian, who's not a Christian, right? That's what's happening there. I see the church retreating to trying to protect a way of life rather than proclaiming the way to life. You know what's interesting? I watch all of these people, which I call platform epistemologians, all these Christians with big platforms. I've never heard any of them, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong here. I've never heard any of them say, you know what, brothers and sisters, we need to all pray twice a week at this time of day just for the Lord to really do a work in our society. I've never heard any of them say that. I know we try to do that. We did that on Cross-Examine for a little bit. We just would pray on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., whatever, on Eastern Standard Time. So if you were in the West Coast, it would be 1 p.m. Just pray for our nation. We need to bring that back. I don't hear none of these people doing that. You mean to tell me policies will change the world more than prayer? Man, how many times did in the Old Testament did God say, man, the cries of my people have reached up to the heavens and now I'm going to act? Man, we've replaced prayer with policy. It's like this, and what's funny is the right accuses the left of radicalism, but the right is just as radical. You just like the radicalism that you about. We have lost the church. We have lost the way. We are protecting a way of life, preserving a way of life, and not proclaiming the way to life. So this isn't just about PnB. This is about where else is people going to go? If Jesus was right when he said the world will know you by your love for one another, and that your love for each other will prove that I exist. But now if you try to correct Christians for being unloving, and mind you, 1 John 4:20 says that you cannot love God whom you haven't seen if you don't love your brother whom you have seen. Mind you, Matthew 5, Jesus said, if you say to your brother, you fool, you are in danger of going to hell. And you will have believers going at other believers like crazy just to keep a buzz, get a video going. Man, I've watched people leave churches, mine included, because we don't take a hardline position. Nah, my problem is I'm not neutral in that I don't have a position. But what I won't do is allow my thoughts on what is righteous and not lead to immorality in my attitude. You see, it's attitudinal reality. It's just the same as reality. So if you're for anti-abortion, fine, go get it. But when you start sinning in anger and judgment and all that towards people, you're not glorifying God any more than the people that are for abortion. And if you're for racial justice, do it. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. When it's legitimate, ain't nothing wrong with it. But when you do it to such a degree that you sin it against other people who don't believe what you believe, that doesn't honor the Lord either. But that's gone. That's gone right now. That aspect of being a Christian and for large swaths of American evangelicalism is gone. Now it's just about, what can I be outraged about? What can I be? And if you don't share my outrage, then you're woke or you support white supremacy or whatever else it is. Well, I say neither of you support the gospel. Neither of you support the attitude in which God says, I want to see in my people. Sure, the scriptures talk about in the end times there'll be this, this, and this. But you know what, though? The Bible never assumed that believers wouldn't be in the mix of these things. And the Bible definitely doesn't assume that believers would be the cause of these things. The Bible's talking about what's going to happen in the world, but how we should be so different from the world. But now, let's just be honest. You can't really distinguish people from the world and the church anymore. In America, at least, large swaths of American evangelicalism are trying to preserve a way of life instead of proclaiming the way to life. There's a reason why Jesus said, pray for your enemies. There's a reason why he said these things. And it's like, nah, if I think because I'm outraged that you think that this is okay, oh man, I apologize. I'm just shooting. This is just all emotion and shooting from the hip, because it's just like, wow, man. And it's not going to stop. I'm not saying we're not. Remember back in the day when you'd watch a Miss America contest and they would be like, what would you like? And they would say, what do you want to do to the world? And they would say like world peace, and everyone would clap at that. Remember when world peace was like something that people actually thought was a good thing? Now it's the world in pieces. It went from world peace to the world in pieces. And the church is right along with them. For Jesus. Clowns. Clownish. Buffoonery. So yeah, on one level, you can disagree with all of this. I could care less, fam. I got 3 boys at home who love their dad. I don't need you to love me or agree with me. I'm good in that sense. But in the culture that we live in, you share what you think, and I'm sharing what I think. I think the rap community, particularly that segment of them who are 30 plus that still rap about street stuff and killing and murder and acting like you ready to chop a dude down, or you got somebody with you that'll do it. Man, don't tweet, man, rest in peace, PnB and all that. Salute the people that did what you rapped about. Keep it 100, right? We supposed to keep it 100. Don't all of a sudden be like, man, this is a tough one, man. When you got a song that you just put out in a music video talking about you'll shoot and kill a dude if you'll rob him for this and that. You need to salute the dudes that do that there. Stay consistent and stop being a hypocrite. Or grow up, fam. Grow up and realize, wow, man, I got kids, man. I don't want my kids to be shot and robbed. I got family. I want my kids to have grandkids. I want them to have a good way of life. You worked hard to make money to get them a way of life. You took your kids out of it, but you still rap about it for the kids that don't have your... Man, that's hypocritical, fam. Change what you rap about. Bring back that stop... Where's KRS-One at when we need him? Bring back the Stop the Violence movement. Bring that back. Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole, where y'all at? Make it, pull together your resources and let's get another Stop the Violence movement. Really, really helping kids. We see the losses now. And if you in the church, man, stop judging what the left and the right are doing, man. It's spiritual forces at work here. And if you have relationships with certain believers and you think they out of step, man, get to them folks. Don't be doing you doing it for a buzz, man, to make a video. You calling out all these people. You don't know these people from Adam. You know, it's easy to say, well, if you do this and that means this. Let me tell you, like me and Strack said last week, if you say if you're not a Christian if you do this or agree with this, no Christians make it to heaven. So what you're telling someone is you're going to hell if, however, you finish that statement. I think we say that a little too flippantly, and some of us may be surprised when we stand before the Lord and he says, I don't know you. But Lord, I believed, I was reformed, I taught every week. I don't know you. I don't know you. You didn't forgive other people. You know, do you realize that Matthew 6 says, look, if you don't forgive others their trespasses, neither will the Lord forgive you yours. If you don't love your brother who professes to be in Jesus, in Christ, then you don't love God. Like those, we don't have debates about that. We talk about once saved, always saved, or this or that, or elected or not elected. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. The only person who knows who's truly elected or truly the people of God is God. The rest of us have to persevere to the end. That's why Revelation says, to the one who conquers. Conquering is not just believing doctrine. It's actually living out the fruits of the Spirit. You could have terrible doctrine. You might believe all of us going to believe something that ain't right. But when we stand before the Lord, he's not going to be like, oh man, you didn't believe in this doctrine. So it's going to be like, man, how did you treat people? Look at Matthew 25. When he separates the sheep and the goat, none of that has to do with like doctrine. None of it has to do with like, man, you didn't believe in the doctrine of election, fam. You didn't believe in the doctrine of this. You didn't believe in the doctrine of that. You fighting over doctrine and you don't care that people are watching your fights and your attitudes, taking cues from you, thinking that this is the way to honor the Lord, so much so that you can't even correct a believer today for being unloving, because to them, that's a political statement. And people will go to hell for being unloving. Man, church, the enemy has got us fooled. Fooled. You're more concerned about protecting a way of life than proclaiming the way to life. Keep your doctrine. The Lord is going to smack a lot of people in the face with that doctrine. We've seen this already. The Pharisees knew more doctrine. Shoot, the devil knows doctrine. But you know what he doesn't do? He doesn't know how to love and imitate Jesus. But you and I are supposed to. Tripping, fam. Tripping. And I'm going to say it until my last breath. And if I do it, then call me out. Now, you might say, well, how loving are you in this situation? Are you upset? Yeah. Okay, maybe. There's zeal here. There's passion. I'm with all of that. I don't think the Bible says I'm not supposed to have that. But I'm really grieved. Really grieved. Because all this division among his people, man, if we came together, I don't care if you believe in this doctrine or that. If we said, hey, we believe in Jesus, it's time to pray. And that's why, and I'm closing with this, that's why I think persecution is coming to the church. In America, it's coming. And it's not because, it's not about a way of life or none of that. You know what? It's coming because I think the Lord, I truly believe the Lord is exposing the deeds of darkness, Ephesians 5:11. And there's darkness in the left, the right, and in the middle. And the Lord is exposing it. And for those of us who keep playing around with God and acting like we need to be so adamant about this particular issue, but ignoring the attitudes and all the things that come with that, we're going to be surprised. You can keep your doctrine, fam. The Lord doesn't need you to be robust, to be an Old Testament scholar. The Lord doesn't need you to defend against somebody who used to be a Christian. He doesn't need you to do that. He doesn't need you to do nothing. But what he's asking us to do is to live like we believe. Anyway, what do I know, man? What do I know? What do I know? Work out your salvation with fear and trembling has become work out your salvation through political means. What do I know? What do I know? I have a lot of areas I need to grow to, but I ain't afraid to tell you, so do you. Kirk Kennedy, thanks for watching, those who watched. Tough day. Not because of PnB, but because all of this, just as I think about all of this. Judge me, love me, leave me alone, whatever. Whatever. See y'all Thursday. Cross-examine. Kirk Kennedy, signing off.